All right, guys, today we got solving rational inequalities. Yesterday we did polynomial inequalities. Today we're going to be inequalities with fractions in them. I know you can't wait for that. All right, here's the steps we're going to do to solve these things. Number one, find an equivalent inequality with 0 on one side. So we got to make one side equal 0. We're going to change the inequality symbol to equals and solve the related equation. Act like it says equals and solve the equation. Number 3, we're going to find the values of the variable for which the related rational function is not defined, which means we're going to find numbers that make the denominator equal 0. And also find the numbers when we solve the equation are also going to be called critical values. So numbers that make our denominator 0 and also the solutions to the related equation are going to be called critical values. We're going to use those to divide the x-axis into intervals like we did yesterday. Then we're going to find the function sign on each interval and then find the answer. Select the intervals for which inequality is satisfied and write interval notation, or set builder, we'll do interval notation, and we'll be done. So, oh, one thing here. No, never mind. We're good. Okay. Solve this one. First one's 3x over x plus 6 is less than or equal, it was just less than 0. So, first of all, I know for a fact my denominator can't be negative 6. Can't put negative 6 in for x, that makes the bottom 0. And if I'm going to solve that equation, the cool thing about this one, I could go ahead and multiply both sides by x plus 6, which would give me just 3x is, remember, we're acting like it's equal 0, so it means x equals 0. The solution to this is whatever makes the numerator 0, because that would make the whole fraction 0. So my two critical values are 0 and 6. I'm going to put a 0 on the number line, a 6 on the number line, onto the x-axis. Actually, should have been a negative 6. Sorry about that. Let me erase those real quick. Make the first one be negative 6 and 0. Now, I'm going to plug points in like I did yesterday to see what happens. So if I plug, let's say, I don't know, a big negative number in over here, like negative 100, for example, that'd make the top become negative 300. The bottom would be negative 94. Negative divided by negative is a positive. That's all I really need to know. If I try another negative, let's try a big number over here on this side. Like, I'll say a positive 100. That'd be 300. That'd be 106. That'd be positive. And I got a feeling the middle part's going to be negative. So let's try like a negative 3. If I plugged in negative 3, I'd get a negative 9 on the top, positive on the bottom. That's negative. And what I'm looking for is where the function is less than 0. Well, it's less than 0 between negative 6 and 0. So my answer is between negative 6 and 0. So the hardest part of the problem is going to be finding your critical values. Okay, so let's try 2 more. All right, this one right here says x minus 2 is greater than 1 over x. One critical value I know already is x cannot equal 0 because it'd make that the fraction on the right side be 0. So I'm going to go ahead and knock that one out. That's one of my critical values. You need one side to equal 0, so if I need to move this thing over, I don't know why I just wrote that. I need to move the 1 over x over to the other side like this. And then I'm going to solve the related equation, which means I'm going to go ahead and work that out. So I'm going to multiply everything by x. That's be x squared minus 2x minus 1 when I do that. Okay, and the bad news is that doesn't factor. So I'm going to complete the square right here. Move the 1 back over. Half of 2 is negative 1 squared. You get plus 1, plus 1. Over here I have x minus 1 squared. Over here I have 2. Take the square root of both sides. You get plus or minus square root of 2. So you get 1 plus or minus the square root of 2. So my critical numbers are that, the 0 and 1 plus the square root of 2 and 1 minus the square root of 2. Okay, this is going to be interesting. So let's draw a number line here. See what happens. So my number line, or my x-axis, whichever you want to consider it. My smallest one would be 1. That's not a 1. 1 minus the square root of 2. I'm going to have a 0. Then I'm going to have a 1 plus the square root of 2. All right, you might want to take your calculator and punch those in and kind of see what your decimal values are, which I'm kind of doing right now. 1 minus the square root of 2 is about negative 0.1 or something like that. It's very close. 1 plus the square root of 2 is very close to, well, it doesn't matter. All right, so I'm going to plug in a big negative number down here. One I know is negative, like negative 100, like I did a minute ago, back into my original equation up there. And if I do that, I get up here, I would get negative 100 minus 2 plus 1 over 100. That's definitely negative, so it's negative over there. If I plug in something here, like I'm going to try negative 1 Still not big enough. Negative a half, I guess, and plug it in. I'll get positive. Plug one here, negative. Plug one there is positive. I'm looking for positive because that's my sign. So my answer is going to be between 1 minus the square root of 2 and 0, and also from 1 plus the square root of 2 to infinity. All right, that's actually, I hope that's not too much right there, but that's how we roll today. So let me show you one more. All right, it's a doozy here. X minus 3 over x plus 4 is greater than or equal to x plus 2 over x minus 5. All right, same deal. So I'm going to move everything over to the left-hand side because I need to have one side equal to 0. So I've got x minus 3 over x plus 4 minus x plus 2 over x minus 5, and all that is greater than or equal to 0. All right, now, I already know two critical values because I already know two things that would make my denominator be 0. So I know x cannot equal negative 4 or 5. So there's my first two critical values. And then to solve that equation, act like it's an equation, I'm going to subtract those two. But when I do that, really I'm just finding an LCD. So I'm getting like x plus 4 over x minus 5. And really I'm just kind of cross multiplying because that needs the x minus 5. So I'm going to go x minus 3 times x minus 5. And then I'm going to take the x plus 2, multiply it times the x plus 4. And see where this leads me. All right, so, and actually I don't even need the denominator anymore because what I've done is I've multiplied everything through by that denominator, and 0 times that denominator is just 0. So I'm going to multiply the numerators out, x squared minus 8x plus 15. Then I have minus x squared minus 6x minus 8 equals 0. Now the cool thing here is the x squareds cancel. I get a negative 14x and a plus 7 equals 0. So negative 14x is negative 7, so x is 1/2. That would be the solution to my equation. So when I make my x-axis here, I need to make some room. I'm going to make my x-axis down here, and I'm going to put, let's see, negative 4 here, 1/2, and then 5. And those numbers come from, again, critical values. The first two I get for what make my denominator 0. The last one I get comes from solving the related equation. I'll set it up like an equals 0 and just solve it. And we'll work on that tomorrow for sure. Okay, so let's plug numbers in. If I plug a big negative number in over here, let's see what happens. If I plug in a big negative number, that's going to give me a major negative up here, major negative down there, which is a positive. That's going to be negative and negative, which is a positive. I'm going to have to actually make up a value. Let me figure this out first. Let's go 0. Let's plug in 0. That'd be a little easier. If I plug in 0, I get negative 3 over 4 minus 2 over negative 5. So that's really negative 3/4 plus 2/5. And I know for a fact that's negative. So that means I got a negative here. And if you haven't noticed yet, I told you this yesterday actually in class, the signs always alternate. So it's going to be a plus. That's going to be a plus. That's going to be a minus. And what I'm looking for is this. I'm looking for greater than or equal to 0. So it's not, let me shrink things here. So when I write my answer, let me change colors. I'm going to write where the negatives are, which is between negative 4 and 1/2. And the reason I'm putting those in brackets is because it has an equal sign there. Also, my answer is going to be from 5 to infinity. And that should be exactly what you get. And we'll work on it a lot tomorrow. Actually, I just now caught something. Sorry about this. This has been a great video. Golly, Mom. I also said greater than. I did the negatives down here, and the problem said greater than. So let me try that one more time. The greater than is here, which would be from negative infinity up to you get to negative 4, and also between the 1/2 and the 5. That's where the positive signs are. So sorry about that. All right, that's a lot of stuff. We'll work on like we always do. Don't faint or anything. It's okay. Again, this is one of those days where I'll expect you to get some off the video and a majority of it in class tomorrow. So hopefully you got a good head start so we can hit the ground running tomorrow in class. And we'll get it. Don't worry about it. See you then.